All right. Hello and welcome to our Career Week presented by the Business and Tourism Department here at Mount St. Vincent University. Career Week consists of a series of panels with industry professionals that cover topics such as career paths, how to get a job upon graduation, career advancement, and gives our Mount students an opportunity to learn from our industry professionals. My name is Carrie, and today I'm going to be helping moderate the Tourism and Hospitality Management panel. I'd like to start by saying a thank you to our extraordinary panelists for taking the time to be here with us today. Joining us today, we have Ted Grant, the president and co-founder of Viveau, Peter Johnson, manager of marketing development at Tourism Nova Scotia, Michael Roberts, Halifax operations manager at Murphy Hospitality Group, and Susan Wilson, the director of human resources at Sutton Place Hotels. Now I'd like to hand it over to Paulette Cormier, who is our host for this panel.
Thank you, Carrie, and thank you to all of our panelists for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. It is very important to us to be able to connect our students to industry leaders such as yourselves. So we really value your input and your time that you're providing to us today. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to start our first question today with asking you to briefly describe the organization that you work for and your role within that organization. If we could start with Susan, that would be great.
There we go. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, working great.
Great, okay. So Susan Wilson, I am the first official employee of the Sutton Place Hotel, Halifax. I joined the team just over a year ago. And we're part of Northland Properties. We have the Sandman Hotel Group. We have the Sutton Place Hotel, which is our luxury brand. And we also have a food and beverage and development component such as Moxie's, Denny's, etc. So right now I'm responsible for the recruitment and retention and selection of the Sutton Place Hotel, which is the luxury brand, the first 5-star property that we are introducing to the HRM.
Thank you, Susan. It's great to have a 5-star property in the city. That's very exciting to see a new hotel opening. Michael, can we start with you next?
Certainly. I work for Murphy Hospitality Group. It's based out of PEI. Started about 40 years ago with our owner, Kevin Murphy. His family is all involved with the company as well. His wife used to be a nurse, but now she does the design for the company. His oldest is the COO, and the other 2 boys all have roles in the company. We have 15 restaurants throughout Atlantic Canada. We have 3 hotels in PEI, a brewery, a catering division, and we also have a moving company, 2 men and a truck in Halifax as well. About 6 years ago, we moved off island for the first time and opened up a Gahan House restaurant there, which was our second Gahan House. And then in those last 6 years, we've actually opened up 7 more off-island locations. So, and with our portfolios now as well, we also have 5 Gahan House restaurants. It's a larger company. Pre-COVID in our peak seasons, we have about 1,000 employees. Right now, we're probably running about 400 employees with the pandemic going on right now. My role with the company is Halifax operations manager. So I take care of our 4 operations in Halifax. And about a month ago, I took on the role of overseeing our Gahan houses as well in New Brunswick, Halifax, and PEI. So my job there is just overseeing those restaurants, working with the management teams to ensure that everything is going well.
Great, thank you very much, Mike. Peter, can we hear from you next?
Sure, thanks, Paulette. Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Johnson. I'm with Tourism Nova Scotia, and Tourism Nova Scotia is a provincial crown corporation for the province of Nova Scotia. And basically what our role is to support tourism growth in different ways, mainly through marketing tourism, but also through experience development and supporting our industry and growing their ability to also market and sell their experience or their product in Nova Scotia. My specific role within Tourism Nova Scotia is as the manager of market development. So my role really is working with industry partners, both here in Nova Scotia, but also from our key markets, in promoting and developing and selling Nova Scotia packaged holidays to Nova Scotia. So that's through the travel trade, and that would be tour operators, travel agents, and those sorts of things. And also on my side of the business, we also do something that we call travel media. And that's working with local influencers or travel media from around the world to create editorial content that basically is a way to promote Nova Scotia outside of the normal sort of marketing or paid advertising avenue. So it's a very there's a strong return on investment in working with local travel writers and influencers to create content that gets high exposure to consumers in our key markets.
Great, thank you, Peter. Ted, can you tell us about your organization and the work that you do?
Yeah, sure. I'm the outlier of the group because I'm not really in a traditional hospitality or tourism space. I have been for many years in my past, 20 plus years, but now I'm an entrepreneur running my own business. And so that business is called Viveau. I'm the co-founder of the drink with the owner of the Grand Pré Winery, Hans-Peter Stutz. And so my past is I was a Michelin star chef. I've done a lot of work in tourism, but it's a chef and a winemaker coming together to start a drink that is comprised of 50% fresh pressed Canadian fruit, primarily Nova Scotian, and 50% mineral water that's lightly sparkled. And so we sell this product now, which I'll put up here, across the country. We have blanketed all of the grocery retail. We're working with people like Mike, who's on the call today, to get it to get into more of the food service market. We sell it in Asia. We're just about to do a deal with 4 countries in Europe. And what makes it special? Why do people want to buy it? It's different than any other sparkling water in the category. Most of those are 0 calorie. They don't taste like the fruit they say they're supposed to taste like. They're made of natural flavors, which are primarily artificial. We are real ingredients, and we have the real fruit flavor. And so that's why people gravitate to what we're doing, and that's why we're connecting with our audience.
Thanks, Ted. I'm a pretty good customer of your product. It's a great product.
Thank you.
I love the diversity that we have on the panel today. I think that this is really great for our students to be able to learn from all of the different areas that you're working at in tourism. My next question is, what is the biggest challenge for the tourism industry at the moment? I think I probably know the answer to that, but I look forward to hearing your perspective on that. And so, Peter, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure, happy to start on that one. So obviously, the major challenge that the tourism industry is facing right now is the COVID-19 pandemic. And, it's likely to affect, certainly in the foreseeable future, the way we travel, but probably long-term challenges and, changes to the way the world travels. So that's definitely, the biggest challenge that we're facing. From a Tourism Nova Scotia perspective, our role right now really is to look at how we can support our Nova Scotia industry in adapting to the constant changes around us, and how we can still sustain the tourism industry in Nova Scotia while we're not able to welcome visitors from around the world. So we're working, a big part of what we're doing right now is adapting to those changes, finding ways to support our businesses in Nova Scotia through this difficult time. But also looking forward as well with a long-term focus and ensuring that we do have a long-term strategy once travel starts to reopen, and that we're still able to attract people from around the world. And part of that is ensuring that people are comfortable traveling here. So safety will be a big part of that messaging, that people feel safe to come to Nova Scotia, but also that our community and the general population in Nova Scotia are also ready and comfortable to welcome visitors to Nova Scotia. So those are some big challenges we'll be facing as we move forward. But there's a whole host of challenges certainly around COVID-19, and it's constantly changing. But those are sort of the big pieces that I would identify.
Thank you, Peter. Could we hear from Ted next?
Yeah, thank you. Susan, I hope I'm not stealing your thoughts on this, but I think the industry's biggest challenge is human resources. From the many years that I worked in the industry to being a consumer now, it's the people. And it's people wanting to work the hours that the industry, traditionally offers. It's non-traditional. It's different hours. It's evenings. It's early mornings. And so I think that to have people that gravitate to the industry and want to stick with it and are passionate about it, no matter what the obstacles are, no matter what the hurdles are that you have to overcome, it's a grind. And it's an incredible industry, though, that gives you so much reward, and there's so much, devotion, to this industry. And so my biggest challenge really is that it's the human resources component, and it's alongside of that is the alignment with training. Because if, for example, Halifax is going to be a world-class destination, we have to have world-class people offering world-class service. And that's my struggle. You go to Chicago and it's the city of hospitality, and it's the city for me that, I model best practice and best, the greatest focus on giving that experience. And so that's where I feel the struggles are, is that we're letting ourselves down as a population in terms of the quality of service has waned year after year and decade after decade.
Thank you, Ted. Susan, can we hear from you?
Absolutely. So I think I'm looking at a little bit of a combo platter, HR and human resources, and having the people who want to dedicate themselves to this industry year after year and go through all the changes. And right now, primarily would be for me, COVID and how it's affected the city and the downtown core. We took a big gamble opening a property during the pandemic and following through on it. And the amount of talent that we were able to recognize and bring on board was overwhelming. So I think there's been a little bit of a shift. We have a lot of qualified people now, and people perhaps who have been with organizations for years and years who are suddenly finding themselves in a situation where they're determining, are they going to stick with this industry who has been such a great support for them in their career development, or are they going to look for something else? But right now, I look from the 19th floor of our property into some of the office buildings, and there's so many people for working from home right now. So I think the city itself is suffering from the fact that there's just not the people during the weekdays to be able to support the Gahan houses, the shops, the food and beverage industry, and the demand for hotel stays, and for us to be able to really make an impact and create that brand loyalty while we're introducing a new product to the city. We don't have the business support during the week to be able to do it. Nova Scotians have risen to the challenge and supported hospitality and tourism on the weekends and during the summer. Now is, I think, where we're really going to struggle a bit, where the conferences and the big groups being able to travel and move freely within the bubble has been affected. So I think there's lots of different balls in play when we look at what's affecting the industry right now.
Thank you, Susan. Mike, can we hear from you?
Yeah, certainly, a lot of challenges in this industry, and there always will be. But to Peter's point, with the pandemic, it's definitely the big one that's up front right now. I mean, for us with 15 restaurants, our average sales being down 50%, or you look at the hotels being down 80%. With those sales down, you still have your operating costs, your rent, your loans. It's how do we keep our doors open, and how long is this going to last? So obviously the government support, and in my opinion, has been great. And I can't speak for everyone, as some people aren't eligible for some of the support. But the rent relief program was great if your landlord opted in, because you're only paying 25% of it. I know the the new rent program is still going to come out here soon, but that's going to be a big help. And the wage subsidy as well, and especially the fact that that's extended until June now, is really going to help us and many other operators get through the winter for sure. So the pandemic is a big one, but pandemic aside, I think minimum wage as well. A lot of entry level jobs in the tourism industry are minimum wage. So as minimum wage continues to go up, you have to pay your staff more, but it's hard to increase your menu prices, so your hotel rates, because there's so much competition in the market these days. If everyone could just get together and decide to raise their prices 10% across the board, it'd be a lot easier, but unfortunately something like that's never going to happen. So I certainly understand why minimum wage needs to increase. The cost of living goes up every year, but we just need to figure that out. Servers are making $50, $300 a night in tips. Do we still need to increase their wage every time? And every time there is a minimum wage hike, you look at a dishwasher who might be making $14 an hour, above minimum wage, but they want to raise as well because other people were getting raises. So when you look at the restaurants, and restaurant profit margins are 2 to 5%, and you get a minimum wage increase that can be 1 or 2% right there, it really leaves your profit margin small. And then not to mention all the other rising costs, with products and other things. So I'd say minimum wage is definitely something that we're tackling too. And to Ted's point as well, just the human factor. It's filling positions with good people now, and Halifax is such a saturated market. There's so much competition. There's always new hotels coming up and new restaurants. So trying to fill those positions can be tough at times with good people.
That does lead us to good opportunities for our students graduating from our program, though. So I guess in a sense, that's a good thing. My next question is, what are the most critical changes that we must make to face the future effectively? And Michael, can we start with you for this one?
Certainly. I'm going to go back to COVID, because COVID's had a big impact on this question, and it's definitely made people reevaluate their business. A lot of people scrambled in March when the shutdown started, and we were kind of brought back to reality. Things have been going great for tourism Atlantic Canada, and Peter, thank you for that. The last few years, more and more people were visiting Atlantic Canada, and with that, more money was being spent. Our sales were growing, our profits were growing, and people were going with the flow. But when COVID hit, it comes to the really good point that rather than working in our business, we had to work on our business, and we had to work smarter. What's best for the business? How can we be better? What is the bare minimum we can do and still provide great service and quality products? So this is definitely an exercise that our company had to do on a big scale in all areas of the company. And it's a tough exercise as well, because it does lead to some job losses. But we need to become more efficient, through innovation and processes. How do you run your business? So yeah, some business, that they do what they do and they keep doing it, but they don't change. So you need to be innovative. We need to be efficient. You need to outsource things, and which kind of leads to procurement, which is something that we've really started a lot of now. I'll use the Brewing Company for an example. That they buy a lot of products to make their beer, whether it's malt and cans and all that stuff. But a few months ago, they put out a tender for cardboard for their boxes for the year, and they saved $30,000. So it's starting to get, again, thinking, working on your business rather than in your business, and then how can you save money. So. A few other critical changes that we need to face. I won't get too much into them though, but is, just the market, like I said, it is very saturated. Cost of sales are going up. People want to support local, but they want to spend less. So yeah, definitely some things that we need to work on.
Thanks for that. Michael, Peter, we'll start with you next.
Sure, great. I think, really it's just building on what some of the things Michael was saying. I think, adaptability, and I mentioned it a bit in my last response, I think will be sort of such an important aspect moving forward for both, the organization that I work with at Tourism Nova Scotia, but also for our businesses in our constant changing world. So from a Tourism Nova Scotia perspective, we really had to completely sort of pivot our normal strategy and our traditional key markets. We're still active in all the key markets that we always have been to maintain those relationships and work towards the future recovery of travel. But we had to really shift our focus to the Atlantic Canada bubble. Because that's, those are the only visitors that we can really, that we could really market to and encourage to travel around Nova Scotia. So that was a complete change for us. We typically didn't market to Atlantic Canadians. We focused on our other key markets outside of Nova Scotia because we know those are the visitors that tend to come to Nova Scotia. They spend a longer period of time in Nova Scotia and they spend more money and all those sorts of things. Whereas Atlantic Canadians, of course, are very important to us as well. But they tend to travel to Nova Scotia for shorter periods of time. They stay with friends and family. They don't tend to stay in our accommodations as much and those sorts of things. So we really had to refocus and rethink the way we marketed this summer and into the fall. And as we continue into the winter, we'll do the same thing. But it's promoting to Atlantic Canadians and giving them compelling reasons to travel a bit more around Nova Scotia and to experience different things. So we did some research with some focus groups from Atlantic Canada, potential visitors, on what types of things they were interested in doing. And we focused on working with our businesses, our local businesses in Nova Scotia, in creating compelling packages that would appeal to Atlantic Canadians. So, and encourage them to come and visit and stay a bit longer possibly than they normally would, and do different experiences and stay different places than they normally would as well. So that's something we've done as an organization. In terms of businesses, they're much in the same situation, from accommodations to tour operators. They've all had to sort of rethink the way that they currently do business, and incorporating all the new health guidelines that they need to think about, the way they market, the things that they're marketing. All those things have had to, have had an impact on the way that tourism businesses do business in Nova Scotia. And so some of them have, done a great job of pivoting, and, we've heard some great success stories. There's no doubt that this is, a very challenging situation and a very challenging year for many tourism businesses. But there are bright spots in amongst those situations where people have done some really great and encouraging things.
Thank you, Peter. Ted, can we hear from you next?
Yeah, I think it's about professional development opportunities and training. I think that we really, have a time right now to spend, those extra hours that we're not serving guests, and to really focus, if the resources are there and the means are there, to improve on the quality of training. And so from a macro level, I really look at it from a leadership perspective to start. We need to train leaders people in the industry to be leaders, understand the difference between leadership versus management, inspire people, get people passionate about what they're doing. It's fine to just be able to pour a glass of wine or pour a craft beer off a tap, but what goes into the making of that wine? What inspires you to tell the story to the consumer? And that's really what it's about. It's, we talk about these minimum wage jobs. Yeah, well, we have a revolving door because people aren't inspired to come into them every day to tell the story, to really get into the excitement and the passion that is the industry. And so for me, it's about, we need to develop better leaders. We need to get people more excited. We need people waking up every day passionate to come to work and share that story, particularly in Nova Scotia. What's so great about this tidal bay? What's so awesome about this craft beer? Wow, Steinhardt won world's best gin. This is what he does to make it. And so that's what's going to be, that to me is what's missing. And that's what we need to really kind of critically change for facing the future. We've got to focus on training and development and getting people inspired to want to be in this industry.
Thank you, Ted. Susan, can we hear from you?
Once again, Ted, we agree on that for sure. And another thing that I think organizations right now have to look at is, we're on the map, Nova Scotia, for being, taking a situation such as COVID that has devastated the industry around the world and people's lives and livelihoods. And we are one of the safest places to be right now. And that's how we're viewed. So how do we take that once we've moved forward through this and really make our customers and our associates understand that it's experiences that we provide, and it's what Nova Scotia is all about. I mean, Halifax itself being one of the favorite cities in the world to travel to, and just making sure that our businesses are nimble, that our associates are willing to go that extra mile, because there's lots of folks right now who aren't getting the hours that they thought they were going to get, or maybe they've been laid off. But it's the associates and the leaders and the supervisors who are there to put the hours in and want to try different things and help out in different areas. And I think that in turn will help create job security within our industry. And we have to look for ways to streamline, look for ways to automate. But at the bottom of it all, we are an organization and a province and an industry that creates experiences for people. So we need to make sure that we're keeping true to that and keeping and developing and staying nimble, and making sure that when all things are said and done, Halifax is a spot to go to for those experiences, to really understand what we're all about. And we'll have the associates, because we've invested in them and they've risen to the top, to make sure that they're employed, that our businesses are successful, and we'll be waiting for the folks to come.
Thank you. I've talked to quite a few operators, and it seems like a lot of people are looking internally at their businesses and seeing what else that they can do, and re-looking at things, investing in their employees, and making sure that they're ready for when we get back to normal. Thank you. Okay, so next we're going to start with Ted, and our question's going to be, what keeps you going to work every day? And can you give us an example of an event that really made your day? So what was something that was really great about your work time and your industry that just really keeps you energized to stay in this industry?
Yeah, for me, it's about the fact that I created this company because I love what I do. And so it's a pretty easy answer. I wake up every day and I'm excited to come in here. And I'm excited to build a culture and a team environment that people thrive in, that they're empowered, that they feel is inclusive, that they are just equally as excited to get here every day and be a part of. And that's, to me, that's really special. And so, that's what keeps me going. What makes my day is every single day we get an email or a call saying that we absolutely love your product. Where do we get more of it? Is it in my city yet? A gentleman called us last week and said, I'm a snowbird. I'm going down even though it's COVID, but I can't go down without my Vivo, and I'll pay for the shipping. So those are the things that make me happy. And those are the events that certainly change our day, because people like what we're doing. And we're authentic and we're real and we're true to who we are. And that's I think what people appreciate, and that's what makes our day.
Thank you, Ted. Susan, can we hear from you?
Gets me to work every day, the people that I had the great opportunity and the privilege to work with every day, but also recruit and select and have them just be part of a dynamic team that wows people every day. I get out of bed every morning because of Jerry, our amazing concierge, who has been, who is 50 plus, and he's every guest that comes in. He has the ability to create those incredible experiences, and that's what does it for me. The highlight of this particular role that I'm in with Sutton was the opening day, of course, but also the first day that I got the orientation team together, where they were meeting each other and just seeing that those hospitality professionals that we had interviewed and selected and chosen were a fit together, and they were the ones who were going to be able to come out and deliver on our promises that we were putting out there. People have high expectations, whether or not they've saved up for a special trip, or they're hosting their first meeting, or they're coming just for a weekend getaway. And I am proud to say that I helped put that team together to exceed those expectations and keep those 5-star reviews coming. So it might sound cheesy, but that's me. If anybody knows me, that's me in a nutshell. It's the people and the experiences that get me out of bed every day.
I love that, Susan. I think that's so true. It's the people are are amazing in our industry. Michael, can we hear from you next?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's I love my job. I love doing it every day. I love the company I work for, and to Susan's point, the people that I work with are a huge part of that. In our company, we have 5 pillars that we go by that our employees came up with, not our senior leaders. It's growth, quality, fun, passion, and family. And family is something that you hear a lot within our restaurants and hotels and brewery. And when you think family, you think people leaving work to go home to see their partners and their families, and they're excited to get home and see them. But I have that same feeling when I go to work because our team members, they all feel like family. When family, it's being respectful, it's trusting each other, being compassionate and supporting each other. So being able to work with people with those attributes every day makes the environment a great place to be. And also, I just love the challenges that come with the job. And it's easy to say you get lots of challenges every day, and facing them head on is a lot of fun and accomplishing them. So, an example of what keeps me going to work every day would, especially now that I'm not in the restaurants as much, is being able to go into the restaurants and interact with the guests, and just sitting down with them, talking with them, and help make their experience. 3 years ago, there was a couple that came into Gahan, and I just went over there to ask them how their food was. It led to a conversation. It led to me sitting down and talking to them for an hour. It led to them coming back the last 3 summers. When they do come back, I spend time with them. And then when I go to Toronto, I spend time with them. So just making those connections each and every day is great. And another thing that keeps me going to work every day, for an example, more focus on staff, is just seeing their growth. We have people that might come and start as a host with us, and over 3 to 4 years, they're moving on to their big career job and stuff. And, they got a lot of skills for that job during their time working for us. So, when I talk about our company's 5 pillars, growth and family are 2 big ones for that question.
Thank you, Michael. Peter, what is it that keeps you going to work every day at Tourism Nova Scotia?
Yeah, for me, it's really, it's much the same. It's the people that I work with at Tourism Nova Scotia in our organization. As I mentioned, we have had to really change the way we do things. So to see our team come together so quickly and be able to adapt to some of those changes and be there to support our industry through a variety of different programs has been really inspiring to see that. The other side, though, is really the industry that we work with, our partners. And it's great. What really makes a great day for me is when I can come to work and I do hear and I talk to one of our industry partners and I get to hear a bit of feedback from them about some of the initiatives that our group has taken on and how it's helped them through this difficult time. So an example of that would be a program that we launched this summer called Radiate. It was a program that helped businesses kind of pivot to the Atlantic Canada market. Those that weren't necessarily getting most of their visitors from there needed a little guidance in how to attract more visitors from Atlantic Canada. So the program was an application-based program. We supported 51 businesses through the program. And what we did is we helped them develop packages that would appeal to the Atlantic Canada traveler. And then we helped them with some marketing assets to push that experience and that package out to Atlantic Canadians to encourage visitation to their experience or their product. And so when I get feedback from an industry operator saying this really worked for them, they've seen an increase in bookings, that's what really, that's a good day for me when I get to hear that kind of news.
Great, thank you. So we'll start next with question number 5. We have a lot of people in the room who someday would like to become senior managers. And I know you have a lot of experience in our industry. I'm just wondering if you could give some insight to our students about how they might go about accomplishing this goal. And this time, if we could start with Susan.
Great. Well, one of the things that really helped me out, I started as a switchboard operator at the Delta Barrington in 1993. So I have worked in lots of different areas of hotels, and I've been curious about different roles. And sometimes I've applied for a position internally, and it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. I knew it wasn't going to be the right fit, but I got the most out of it that I could. I saw from the other point of view. I worked in departments that work together, and honestly, be patient. Take all the training opportunities that you can. Job shadow in other departments. Explore different areas of the industry. I've gone back and forth between operations and human resources, and I find that the knowledge that I gain in operations helps me be a better human resources leader. So just be curious and be an individual performer as well as a team member. You can be very successful and powerful as a team of front of the house associates, but also remember that when it comes down to it, when we're looking at promoting and we're looking at who we're developing, it's the individual that we're looking at. So make sure that you're addressing each and every day at work like you're putting your signature on it. And you want to work your first day like you work your last day. So if you're moving up into another department or into another area, just really make sure that you're focusing on yourself, focusing on your development, and being recognized as an individual who contributes to the team going forward.
Thank you, Susan. That's great advice for our students. Michael, can we hear from you next?
Yeah, I mean, you know, becoming a senior manager, I mean, you have to love what you do. If you don't love going to work every day, it's very tough to grow. You know, obviously there's going to be bad days, but the good days will definitely outweigh them. Making connections is so important. You know, I have the opportunity to meet so many people because I can go up to a table and randomly start talking to them, and it's not weird because it's expected because I work within the restaurant. So yeah, talking to as many people as you can. I mean, it only takes talking to the one right person to really, you know, set you in the right direction for your career, because you never know who you're talking to. There's a story that from PEI about, I think it was 8 or 9 years ago, where at Fisherman's Wharf, which is a restaurant in Rustico, there was a server there. And anyways, he was serving 2 guests, and they had a great time that night, and they interacted a lot and talked personally. And obviously, you know, at the end of the night, those 2 guests tipped him very well, and they went their separate ways. But then a month later, when he went to UPEI to pay his tuition, they said, no, your 4 years of tuition have been paid for. So that gentleman that he had served a month ago enjoyed him so much and went and paid for his full tuition. So again, you never know who you're talking to, so meet as many people as you can. Don't burn yourself out. You know, growing up, I was doing the 70, 80 hours a week, but I didn't have to. I wanted to, but that's not going to impress, you know, your senior leaders. It's just about, you know, do your time, do your 40, 50 hours, and just do quality work. Don't feel like you need to work too much, because you will burn yourself out. And then just balance your work life and personal life. That's a big one. So yeah, those would be mine for becoming a senior manager.
Thank you, Michael. That's an amazing story that happened to your employee for sure. Peter, can we hear from you?
Sure. So I think, taking advantage of every opportunity you have to gain new experience and new opportunities. I started out in the tourism industry working at a visitor information center as a travel counselor. And so when I was in that role, it was a very intro level job, but I really worked my way up through the ranks into different positions. And really, I was successful in doing that by always taking advantage of the opportunities that were presented to me or presented in general, and I would try to jump on those opportunities, even if it was outside the scope of what I was supposed to be doing. If there was an opportunity, I took advantage of that. It really gives you an opportunity to gain additional experience, meet new people, make new contacts. And every bit of experience and new contacts in your network will really help you advance over time. So I would say, be patient, but always take advantage of those opportunities when you see them to gain a new set of skills and new experience and to meet other new people. I really agree with Michael that connections and networking is such an important piece. I'm part of a sales team, so obviously that's a big piece of what we do is networking and relationship building. but those relationships are, great things can come out of them. So don't hesitate, to go up to somebody. Don't be shy to talk to somebody about opportunities that you might see within their organization or just be curious about. I know I met a Mount student at your event. I think it was maybe last year, Melanie Lowe, who was a recent graduate from the Mount. And, she came up to me and we had a great conversation. We later connected on LinkedIn. She ended up applying for a position within Tourism Nova Scotia. And I gave her a little bit of advice and guidance in that process. And she's working with us today. So that's a great success story from, that, it didn't all come from just the connection that she made with me. But it certainly, I think it helped give her some confidence in moving forward with that process and helped her get where she is now.
Great, thank you, Peter. Yes, I know Melanie was very excited to get that position at Tourism Nova Scotia. It was a great ending to that connection for sure. Ted, can we hear from you next, please?
Yeah, I just say that everybody who has already added these three people are very knowledgeable, and they've hit it on the nail on the head. It's really about curiosity. It's really about work ethic. It's about being adventurous. It's about balance in your life. And then the last two things I would add is simply, one is you've got to be a really good listener. You've got to be an active listener. And within all of that active listening, you have to be vulnerable. And that's something that has been critically important to me. It's tough when you're young to be vulnerable because you're not confident, you're uncertain, you're shy, but you have to listen and you have to grow. And people talk about, worried about making mistakes. Make them often. They're not a negative. Don't have it in your psyche that there's something wrong with making a mistake. It's just a laddering of learning. It's a building block. And so just be a great listener and guide every single thing you do with your ear, learning from those who have come before you, learning from those who are around you. And that's how you'll grow, and that's how you become a senior manager.
Thank you. That's some really great advice for our students. This leads us into our next question, which is a little bit more specific in terms of what are some of the most important skills that people who are looking to work in the tourism and hospitality management industry, what skills do they need to really be successful? And if we could start with Michael this time.
Certainly. I'd go back to talking about passion again. You have to love what you do because you're going to be doing it for a while. Personality, that's a big thing. It's something that we always look for. You can't fake talking nice to guests forever. You either have this or you don't. You always need to be smiling, although I guess these days with wearing a mask, you don't have to as much. But problem solving, things can go wrong all the time, and you need to make decisions quickly. You can have upset guests, power goes out, your restaurant could flood, equipment breaks, overbookings, people calling in sick. So these things happen all the time. And as a manager, you need to be the one that solves these in a timely fashion. Teamwork is a big one, especially for bigger locations. When Gahan House was on the waterfront in Halifax, we'd have a staff of over 100 people. Sometimes you have 40 people working at once, or 50 people working at one side with 300 guests in your restaurant. So everyone's running around, and as busy as you are, you need to find time to help out everyone else as well. So, and then customer service, that's definitely a big one. It's again hard to smile when you're being yelled at by a guest, but the guest they're always right, and you have to go with that. So it's finding solutions for that. And the last would be communication. Depending on what your position is, you could be communicating hundreds of things a day, and that sounds like a big number, but when you think about emails and talking face to face with your management and your teams and writing down notes for your Google documents and whatnot, there's a lot of stuff to communicate. And if you're not organized and communicating properly, the trickle down effect can have serious consequences. So communication, it's tough. No one's perfect at it, but it's probably one of the biggest things you need to strive on.
Great, thank you, Michael. Peter, can we hear from you next?
Sure. So I think you know, there are lots of skills that apply to the tourism industry positions, but one of the most significant ones, certainly in my role, in all the roles really that I had, sort of working within tourism, is communications, which Michael spoke a bit to as well. You know, that's really key in everything. It's your relationship building. It's you know, your, if you manage programs, communication is so important. You know, just messaging around any sort of activity or things that are happening in the industry or affect the industry. It's such an important piece of the work that we do. My team, you know, we work primarily in sales and media. And so, you know, communication is a key factor in everything that they do. So last year, my team had about 1,600 business-to-business meetings altogether. We, I think, completed around 1,800 presentations. So, you know, those are communication skills are absolutely critical in our business. I think the only thing I would add sort of onto what Michael said is the ability to adapt quickly and that flexibility. Certainly in our current environment, you know, we've seen, you know, everybody, you know, in our organization, but also within tourism businesses, having to adapt very quickly to our changing environment and the way they do things and the way and the work that they're doing. So certainly I think that's a good example given our current environment, is that adaptability and that flexibility as well.
Thanks, Peter. Ted, could we hear from you next?
Yeah, everybody's just saying the right things. It's the soft skills. So I won't name them all. Just go and look it up online. What are the soft skills? Communication, work ethic. Those are the team building. Like that's what's going to make you. Those are the skills that you need to learn to be successful anywhere, but particularly in the tourism and hospitality industry.
Thank you, Ted. Susan, can we hear from you?
Everything that they had mentioned, one of the most important things, and it's a skill that I work on every day, is just being an active listener. Listen to understand what people are needing. Once you understand why someone is coming or why they're looking to come to your property or into your restaurant or why they're there, then you in turn can learn to act. You need to be nimble. You need to be tech savvy now as well. Even, you know, when I was so impressed, quite frankly, at how our industry was able to move more online and schedule meetings and do things in more of a computer-based learning environment, Zoom, Team, etc. And I also think that attention to detail is key in our industry. The devil's in the details sometimes, and having a for the lack of a better word, a servant's attitude or a servant type heart. If you're not the type of person who likes to get in there and do things for people and then get excited about the result, then I'm not sure that the hospitality industry is going to be the one for you. You have to be willing to create those experiences for people. And it's not something that you can teach. You know, we always say we look for those positive attitudes, but you know, that's something that hasn't changed year over year over year.
Thank you. So I'm seeing some information here that we might want to pay real close attention to in terms of our communications classes for students that are enrolled in those at the moment. So our next question is about, are there member organizations that students or graduates should get involved with that might be able to help them to take that next step in their educational journey or their career? So if we could start with you, Peter.
Sure. So I thought of a few. There's, of course, there's the Tourism Industry Association of Nova Scotia, and I know the Mount has, you know, a good relationship with that organization. I myself, when I was a Mount student, volunteered with tie-ins, and they typically have lots of opportunities to gain experience there, and an opportunity so that you can meet new people through their tourism conference. It's looking a bit different this year, unfortunately, due to COVID, but I'm sure that conference will resume hopefully next year. But they're a great organization within Nova Scotia here that you can reach out to regarding volunteer opportunities and opportunities to sort of have the opportunity to network with people within our industry. The other one, or I had a couple more. The other one of the other ones was Events Nova Scotia. Again, going through a very challenging time now around events, but they have a volunteer database, which you can go onto their website and register for. And those type of events where they're looking for volunteers and things, and they're even doing virtual events these days as well that you can volunteer for. They, again, provide excellent exposure to different people within our industry, but also provide the opportunity to gain some new skills. And the last one is the Tourism Industry Association of Canada, TIAC. So that's our national tourism organization, and they're a great advocate for tourism across the country. So I would encourage all the students to visit their website, sign up for their newsletter. They send out a lot of information regularly, particularly around the recovery of tourism in Canada. They actually have an upcoming conference. I think it's November 16th and 17th. Typically, it's an in-person conference that takes place in Ottawa, and there's usually a cost associated with going. But this year, it's absolutely free. It's a virtual conference. So that would be, I'd encourage all the students to check out the website. I think it's the tiaccongress.com perhaps, but you can certainly find the link on the TIAC site. And you can register for free, and they have a couple days of presenters. They're talking about different aspects of the tourism industry, but particularly around the recovery of tourism. So that might be of great interest to the students at the NAP.
Thank you. That sounds like a great opportunity for all of those organizations. Ted, can we hear from you next?
Look, there's loads out there, and from just what Peter shared, and from Taste of Nova Scotia to the Chamber to what I'd say to you is I just encourage you, one, to be curious, and two, to give something a chance. And finally, when you're in there, make sure it's the right fit for you. Like, if it's boring and it's not intriguing and compelling, then don't be there just because you think you're going to connect with somebody. Be somewhere where you're excited and you're passionate. If it's something that you want to do, if you want to join an organization where you understand more about craft beer, or you understand more about, you go on hiking trails around Nova Scotia, whatever it is, just be excited about what you're doing. Don't go, you got to be stimulated, or else it's just a waste of your time and your energy. And those kind of extracurricular or volunteer opportunities, you've got to be really excited to want to be a part of them. So that's what I would share.
Thank you, Ted. Susan, can we hear from you?
They've covered a lot of the great bases, from tie-ins, TIAC, Nova Scotia Tourism Human Resource Council as well, the Chamber. I sign up for newsletters left and right because inevitably something's going to run across your desk as of interest to you, whether it's a 10-minute webinar on something, or it's a virtual conference that you're able to, by merit of COVID, attend for free this year. I think those are great. Going on to Instagram and following Skills Canada, like, there's so many different things out there that are low cost, high impact, and a lot of people are very cognizant, and organizations are cognizant of the amount of time that is required. Balance is always correct. I love what you said, Ted, about, it's got to grab you, it's got to engage you. Don't just put the time in to check off the box. But I've done some really neat things already this year, going through the eMerit program, learning the Clean It Right program. There's so many different free training options that you can go through, but if you can point people in that direction as well, use your contacts as well. You've covered so many. I'm going to sign up for that Congress once we're done here as well. You always learn something, and it's through these great connections.
Thank you, Susan. Michael, can we hear from you?
Yeah, and I mean, this is a great question because I moved to Halifax 6 years ago, and I didn't know anyone in the business community. So, really, anything where you can make a connection with someone or networking, and I would say that I've done a few events now at the Mount St. Vincent University there, and the students there are great. Every time you do it, they come up to you, they give you that handshake right away. They're talking with you, and then they always give you a card at the end, so you can reach out to them. So, you definitely teach it right there. I know that the handshake part's a little difficult these days, but hopefully we'll get back to that soon. But someone that I'm involved with are SCALF, which is an international tourism organization, which is great because you meet people, that work in hotels and restaurants and attraction sites and tourist destinations and entrepreneurs. So that's a great one. To Ted, Susan, and Peter, I'll mention the Chamber. The Chamber is one that we utilize a lot. They have a lot of resources there with their staff, and they're all about helping you. So, they have networking events. It almost seems weekly. They have something going on where you can meet new people. So getting involved with the Chamber is a great one. Just joining boards. Whether it's for yourself to try and get to know what that business does more of, or just, helping give back. But, there's usually anywhere from 6 to 12, maybe more on a board. They're not big time commitments. You meet 2-4 times a year. So you can make a lot of connections there, and then volunteering as well. That's a big one, especially these days, and giving back to the community. So you can, volunteer with Feed Nova Scotia. We like to go to the Ronald McDonald House and cook meals there. Events like marathons, we do beach cleanups, we plant trees. So giving back to the community is a big one as well.
Thanks for that. Volunteering can be a great opportunity to connect with other employees in the organization and build those relationships as well. And our students are actually members of the business and tourism students are members of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. So it's great to hear all these suggestions about attending those. And I would say one of the benefits of COVID is certainly the opportunity to have access to more of these kinds of things for free that we might not have had in the past. So we are at about 11:30 now. We do want to give our students an opportunity to be able to ask some of their specific questions. So I'm going to turn things over to Carrie, and she'll ask some of the questions that the students are submitting. Okay, it'll just be 1 second here. Carrie, did we want to open it up to students, or they'll send some questions in to your Mount email address?
Great idea, Paulette. The chat is open for students to send in questions. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send them now.
Okay.
While we were waiting, maybe our panelists have any final thoughts, any last notes for our students that you would like to share?
Any words of wisdom or anything that we haven't covered in our questions? Peter, do you want to go ahead?
I guess if there's nothing, I'll jump in. What I would say is be adventurous, and for those of you who are here in Nova Scotia or wherever you are, explore and try new things. Get out to new restaurants. They don't have to be expensive, but get out and try new things and take the bus somewhere different, and just be adventurous, be on this for the amazing ride and journey it can be. And as you get older, you start realizing more and more that you only have one shot at this, and so make the most of it. And that's what I would say is just Susan and Mike and Peter, everybody said the same thing. You got to roll up your sleeves, you've got to dig in, you've got to work hard. And that's the difference maker. And that's how you're going to be successful. So that's really my final thought.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ted. Peter, do you want to give us any final thoughts?
So the only thing I'll add as a graduate from the tourism program at the Mount, I'll just say, be patient. And as I said earlier, take advantage of all the opportunities and opportunities for new experience, new relationships, but be patient. I remember graduating a little over 20 years ago now, and coming out and, with a bit of uncertainty. I didn't know exactly what my path was going to be. I gained a lot of great experience through the Mount. I did the co-op program, so that gave me a lot of great connections to go out into the industry. So I felt I had a little bit of a head start there, but when I originally graduated, I wasn't quite sure what my direction was, and I didn't have an immediate job when I came out of university. It took a little while to find my path. But it all worked out. And so my biggest piece of advice is, just be patient, stay positive. We are in a challenging environment right now, but things will definitely come around. We'll get through this situation that we're in right now with the pandemic. And I feel that we will come back even stronger than we were before. So just be patient, be confident, and take advantage of any opportunities that come your way.
That is great advice. I can definitely attest to that as a co-op student. You gain so much great experience, and it really helps you in your future. Susan, any last words of wisdom that you would like to share?
One of them is staying current. When I was a front office manager, one of the tasks I had my employees do was, listen to CBC on the way into work. Staying current, make sure you know what's going on, maximize those memberships like the chamber, etc. Learn what you can, and also, make sure that the company that you're working for and the job that you're in is a match for you as well. People, you often hear, oh, I can't wait. I hope I'm going to pass my probation period. I hope I'm going to get to that next step. But a workplace is on probation as well. We've got so many talented people out there. It's got to be a great match for you. And maybe it's not the perfect match right now, but if you have the foresight a year from now, you're going to be in that position that you absolutely love. And my last word of advice, cover letters. Cover letters, cover letters, cover letters. We post a position, especially now, we're getting lots and lots of applicants. Make yourself stand out. Don't just apply generically to positions that you think you might enjoy. Make it personalized. Just really do something to help yourself stand out when you're making that connection.
That is excellent advice for our students. Thank you so much for that, Susan. And now, last but not least, Mike, any lasting words of wisdom that you'd like to give our students?
Yeah, the big one for me is love what you do. Again, you have to do it every day. So love what you do, and don't be scared to take risks. When I always look back, 6.5 years ago when our owner, Kevin Murphy, got a call from his cousin who lives in Halifax, and he said, that there's a restaurant on the waterfront, and it's open for, the restaurant that was there just closed, and they're looking for a tenant. And Kevin's initial response was, we're an island company, we're happy here, but we thought about it for another day or two, and he took the risk of deciding to expand off PEI. And 6 years later, we have 7 restaurants off island. So don't be scared to take risks. And as well, obviously our company, and there's many opportunities there, but don't be scared to create your own position as well. It happened 2 years ago with us, where one of our team members was very passionate about what they did, and they created a job and presented it to us and said, you need this, and I'm the person to do it. And we did. We gave them a new position. It's something that we never thought of before, and it was very beneficial for our company. So don't be scared to create your own success that way as well.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Mike. All right, well, that wraps up our Career Week Tourism and Hospitality Management panel. I'd just like to say a tremendous thank you to our wonderful panelists today. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with our students. It was really great to see you all.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.